Compliance and governance, that's a big issue in the public transport sector currently. And we are talking about the Michuki rules, which came into effect 15 years ago. And from the exchanges here, the accusations now head to the police, and Charles Owino is right here. You've been accused by both Simon Kimutai and Mukabana that you sat on laws, you sat on the regulations as the police service for 15 years. And then suddenly wake up on Monday, the 12th of November, and declared a crackdown on what should just be a regular enforcement of the law.
One great thing that I like is that they have said it by themselves. And they have said that we slept on the job. I don't want to deny. They know what they have been doing for the police to sleep on the job. One, they know very well that when it is closer to campaign periods, when people are looking for votes, they know where to lobby and cut off the police. They have done it severally. It's fortunate that we have lived in this country long enough and we know the behavior of most of us. And we are also lucky that we are very far from campaign periods when people go looking for favors. And I believe between now and that time, we will not be sleeping on the job because there will be nobody to influence our interest. But more so, I don't see why they should complain when the law is being enforced. They are complaining that we slept on the job. They are equally complaining that we are now acting. Why now? I always say God's time is the best. I believe maybe this is God's time for all Kenyans. But what I would like to put very, very clearly is that this is something that, from where I sit, is of benefit to the investors who have invested in the Matato industry. Just like you had put it earlier, when the fares are increased, the owners of the Matato are not involved. It is done by the tots and the drivers on the route, and they don't benefit. It's a fact, and Kimutai knows that, and we've discussed that before. So I think what we are doing is the benefit of owners of the Matatus, the investors themselves, and also the benefit of everyone in the country, especially on road safety. When a Matatu or any vehicle gets a PSV vehicle or whatever is involved in an accident and we lose people, the same way we did in Kericho, all of us feel pain and we all complain. So I don't think it is the blame time now. It's time to ensure that we have regulations, the regulations exist, and let us ensure that we comply to those regulations.
But if 15 years, Charles, and you mentioned everything, including an allegation that they lobby politicians to keep off the police. You failed to mention one thing that is in the public domain.
Yes.
The levels of bribery and corruption within the police service.
It benefits them more. They give police 50 bob, they make $1 million bob. So it is not the benefit of the police. It's stupid for us to take bribes. We have been paid by government to be law enforcers, and that is why many a times we liaise with EACC and CID to arrest our own, because it is not appropriate. And they do it. In fact, liners, they said you don't take a Matatu. Maybe you started, it's just recently when you bought a car, because you are still young. And I'm sure most of the time, either you are walking on foot as a Maasai, or you took a Matatu shortly. And you've seen what they practice. They take 50 bob, the roadblock is ahead, and they say, wacha tutengeneze tupatie hawa maumbwa. Maumbwa ni sisi, na tumekubali kuitwa hivyo, kwa sababu tumekubali kuchukua. But what I can put practically, all this is not right. And that's why we are saying it is important now for us, as a country, not as a policeman, not as a commuter.
Will it stop then? I mean, you've been taking 50 bob on your
Linus,
own saying.
I can tell you, and I can assure you, that any police officer who is going to take that money on the road will rain on him badly. Badly. And I can assure you of that. And Kimutai and I, we have agreed that we must rain on those people giving policemen money and those policemen taking money. It's a serious issue. It's not business as usual.
You've accused them, and maybe you give them a chance to respond. You said
I've not accused them. Yes. I've accused I've accused everyone, including myself.
Yeah, I think.
And from let me tell you, from the faith, from the faith, from the faith where I've brought.
You specifically said they give the money to the police.
Yes, they do.
So can they respond to that?
Okay, I think here, it's good that Charles here is said, you confess your sins and you shall be forgiven. I'm happy that there's been confession on the same.
Let me tell you.
No, please.
No, ngoja kwanza. You know, it would be wrong for me to deny policemen taking bribes, and yet we arrest them every day and take them to court. It would not be right. It's true. It's a fact.
So allow him to finish his point.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I had to clarify.
Okay.
Well,
it's not just a confession. It's a fact.
Okay. I think now the sins can be forgiven. Then we are able to find a way forward on the same. One is that corrupt practices on the roads is what has caused all this. You can know that non-compliance is because there's been encouragement not to comply for somebody to be able to convert non-compliance into benefit. This, unfortunately, is that whether you've complied or you have not complied, you will have to pay. And this is a fact.
We'll come to compliance. Let's just go to the bribery issue.
Yes, I want to respond by saying, first of all, that rules have not been made only for Matato sector, correct? They have been made for everybody who is on the road. Can we say that bribery only happens in the Matato sector? It happens with the lorries, it happens with the trucks, it happens with small cars. So to try and demonize the Matato by police saying that it is only Matatus that bribe, I think it's an unfair allegation.
Mukabana, it's not enough to say
Mukabana is not attentive.
It's not enough to say.
I never use the word only. Mukabana.
A second.
No, Mukabana. Maybe it is your age, I can forgive you. But I never said only.
Let's go slowly so that we understand this issue. Yes. What we want to do is to cure the problem of corruption on our roads. We are guilty, as mentioned. The police are guilty. But I think to try and say that PSVs are the ones perpetuating that only is an unfair practice, fair allegation, and we must dispel it. Let's say it happens on all motorists. One of the biggest problems, I belong to Kenya Private Sector Alliance, the biggest problem on the northern corridor for goods transiting to Uganda has been bribery. And it has been in every discussion.
But Edwins, it's really not a defense just to say that you are not the only sinner.
No, I am not saying. I'm saying we have a problem ourselves. And the problem we have is because we have left the system to run a lot on cash basis.
And what Charles was basically saying is why for the last 15 years it has not been possible to implement the same rules they reintroduced today was because you give them money.
In my opinion, the giving of money on the roads has got a two-way approach, but sometimes it is extortion. You are made to pay that money, and if you don't pay that money, you will be in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Ask anybody who has a pickup, ask anybody who has a anduthi, ask anybody. It is an extortion.
Right,
Linus.
Before Charles responds.
I'm the devil. Let me just say something. Just a minute, Linus. Let us be realistic. That if you don't comply, then you give a leeway for a corrupt policeman to take your money. And that's why we are saying, let us comply. So that we close these loopholes that give people opportunity. And as I told you, practically, the persons who benefit from that bribery most are owners of matatus and not as much as tots and drivers. It's a fact.
And the police.
But we are not saying that policemen are not taking bribes. They do, and that is why we arrest them and we charge them. But what we are saying, as at now, our problem is that we want to comply, and our duty is to enforce. Let us not run away from compliance. Let us agree that from tomorrow, as you've said, you are going to comply, and then after complying, let us meet again here next week and tell me, Bwana, we know we have complied. But your
Right.
policemen
I
are
want us to
taking
move
bribes.
this conversation forward because we have quite a number of issues to address, and I just want us to have a look at a clip because I want us to discuss the Matato culture, the behavior that exists in there. Let's just have a look at this clip, and then we continue with the conversation.
In Thika, impunity is the norm. A vehicle meant to carry 14 people carries more than 2 times its capacity. 27 school children scrambling to enter Matato. Each of them pays 10 shillings instead of the standard fare of 20. It happens in the full view of traffic police officers, but they look unbothered by the happenings.
Let's look at that, and both ends of this panel that have been pointing fingers, both the police and the Matato owners. Kimutai, how do you feel? 27 children in a vehicle whose capacity is a third of that?
I would say it's absurd. And it's very saddening. If a crash occurred, you can imagine how many people can lose their lives or be maimed. And I want to say there's one thing that I don't forget it, is that who is in a better position? A policeman has been trained about law, about bribe, about anything. Who is in a better position? A person who's giving or the person who's receiving? The person who's receiving has been trained and he knows it's illegal. So a policeman has powers to arrest you if you're bribing him. Why does he take it? Why do you tell me don't give him? Why does he take it and he's a policeman? That's one side. That is very sad, and it should not be allowed to happen. And in most cases, when we investors have bought vehicles, I could be having 20 and I'm in an office. When they are on operation, they are working. My eye is supposed to be a policeman to ensure that the law is followed to the letter. But unfortunately, you'll see this happening. You'll see people being put in like logs, which is very unfortunate.
So, do you then admit that even as owners, you're not really in control of the sector?
Well, I don't know what
you can't control your own vehicles. You can't control that kind of behavior.
As I told you, that this is a business on trust. And it's very difficult when you are in Nairobi to know what is happening in Machakos, in Kisumu, whatever it could be. But the reason why we have policemen on our roads is to play our role in ensuring that everybody follows the law. But apparently, these guys are bedmates.
Linus.
Just hold on before you talk about them being bedmates with policemen. Let's play this other clip that really shows who controls the stages, the Matato stages, and who controls the activities inside the Matatos themselves. Let's
The town
this.
center. I boarded an Embasava Sacco Matato. We are headed to Pipeline Estate. This was the designated driver. All seemed well, but as we enter Pipeline Estate, he stops the vehicle and a different driver takes over. We boarded yet another Matato. Our destination, Rongai town. And even here, the steering wheel changed hands before the end of our journey. Kamagira rules in the estates, and designated drivers operate by their rules. But according to them, they're not dangerous people, but their only trouble is joblessness.
Wako kazi. Wanapatiwa gari, wengine wanaenda kukunywa chai. Alafu naenda kuwachasia gari, tunarudisha hapa wanatulipa.
Usipokupatia gari.
Usiponipatia gari, sitapatiwa na mwingine.
Hapa nataka kazi. Kwa wengi na tuona naangalia hatuibii mtu tuko kazi.
Simon, are these your employees?
No, they are employees of our employees. And it is illegal. It's very illegal because that person is not supposed to drive that car. He has no documents that I've signed for. A driver is supposed to be signed for. The documents is supposed to come from the SACCO or the company he is working in. And in most cases, they are not compliant. We don't know even whether they have driving licenses. So it's pathetic. It's pathetic. And we always run to Owino to protect us.
And my next question is to Owino, did you need, as a police service, do you need a crackdown or a declaration of a crackdown for you to pick out some of these very glaring illegalities?
You are speaking as if you are not aware as a media house that we take people to court every day. We take people to court every day that we arrest. You cannot say that we have just sat and people are not taken to court.
If you had taken enough people to court, Charles, we would not have gotten that clip.
The issue is not enough. The issue is you take them and they continue committing the offense. What I'm saying is the crackdown is necessary because it is an agreement, because this is a societal problem. It is not an individual's problem. It is not a problem of Matato owner by himself. It's not a problem of the conductor by himself. It is not a problem of the policeman by himself. It is a problem of a society. A disorganized, immoral society that do not want to accept its mistakes. And that is why, from where I sit today, I'm not here to defend the police service. I'm here to defend everyone, from the Matato driver to the commuter to all of us. And that is why we are able to take responsibility of the wrongdoings that we are doing. And that is why we should be able to agree as a society that our practices are wrong, and therefore we should comply and move on in the right way. But apparently what is appearing here is that each and every person is trying to defend this department. When it is wrong, it is wrong. And there's no shortcut. And that is why I have assured you that whether you cry, you jump, we have said that no more of this will take place. And we have to agree as a team on what should be done. For example, we were just talking before we came to this show, and we said if you go to the bus station, for example, you find people picking totes, picking people's bags, trying to push them in vehicles, and yet each and every bus company can have, just a minute, can have his office where you go orderly and you choose which bus company to go to and apply. So what we are saying is a societal problem which must be stopped, and everything must have a beginning. And we have to agree that it's a beginning. And Linus, you are not going to sit here and speak as if you have come from the moon. You know this country and you know how people behave. You know exactly what they do. You know the kind of money that they roll. You know where they take it. And therefore, we need not just to speak here as if we have come from another planet and come here.
Right, and talking of a societal issue, I want us to go to the audience and let them weigh in as well on this issue, which is being described as a very pertinent issue across the sectors of our country. Mashirima.
Linus, swala ambalo limeibuka sasa hivi ni kuwa wengi wanakamatwa wanafikishwa mahakamani, lakini Moses Njuguna ana swali kuhusiana na ni nani haswa aliye na makosa anayefikishwa mahakamani. Moses.
Kwa majina ni Moses Njuguna. Nilikuwa nataka kusema tu kwa matajiri wetu. Gari na makosa, kama makosa ni yangu nastakiwa, makosa ni ya mwenye gari, anafaa kustakiwa ama nini? Sababu mara mingi ukishikwa, makosa ni ya gari, matajiri wengi wanaenda na kuacha ndani, anachukua gari yake. Asante.
Charles, you want to respond to that?
Yes. Kitu muhimu ni kwamba ikiwa gari haina insurance na wewe ni driver, kwa nini unakubali kuingia kwa hiyo gari na kuiendesha? Hustahili kuingia kwa hiyo gari kuiendesha. Inastahili uache umwambie mwenyewe, hapana, siwezi endesha hii gari. Kama gurudumu imeisha taya, basi kataa. Na mara mingi unakuta kwamba kuna zile makosa ile ya gari yenyewe na kuna ile makosa inafanyika na wenye wanaendesha magari. Na mara mingi unakuta makosa ya wenye wanaendesha gari ni mingi kuliko ile makosa ya gari yenyewe. So mara mingi ni kweli utakuta mwenye gari atakuacha kwa sababu umebeba abiria kupita kiasi, ama umeendesha gari kwa kazi ile yenye haifaa. So inamaanisha kwamba mwenye gari atachukua gari yake na atakuacha. So ni vyema mwanze kuwa compliant pia na kueleza mwenye gari hapana, siwezi chukua gari yako kwa sababu haina compliance.
Na swali lingine hapa kuhusiana na sheria ambayo Kamau anahisi kuwa haina maana.
Hello, my name is Kamau. I was asking about the pictures on the car, because watu wanalipishwa kwenda pale pengine kupigiwa hiyo muhuri kwa mapicha, na kisha mtu akona PSV, akona kitambulisho, akona driving license, lakini lazima apatiane hiyo picha. Sasa si understand, I don't get the logic behind the picture. Why I must? Sako, muhuri, picha kwa police station lazima either. Thank you.
Charles.
Picha ni muhimu. For example, you've seen what has happened, that a person who is not the driver assigned to this car leaves the car and brings in a different person. So that picture is able to tell us whether you are the actual driver or a different driver. It makes work easy for the police officer to identify. About the stamp, I don't know where you are charged. I don't know that you are charged at the level where you are getting the PSV or where they are stamping. And if it is legal, then you should have a receipt. If it is illegal, then you should not give money. Yeah.
Swali lingine hapa kutoka kwa wahudumu wa taxi, haswa wale ambao wako mtandaoni, wanahisi kuwa wao wanafuata sheria. Ni kweli?
Asante sana mheshimiwa. Jina langu ni David Muteru, mimi ndio chairman wa Digital Tax Association of Kenya. Na ningependa kuongea tu kidogo kuhusu, nimesikia mkisema kuna regulation nyingi sana kwenu. Kwetu hakuna regulations, hata moja hakuna. Kwa hivyo sisi tunaoperate tu na watu wale wenye app companies. That is akina Uber, Taxify and the rest. Wao wenyewe ndio wamekuja hapa katikati, wamechukua market yote, wamefanya nini? Sisi kama madereva wa taxi huanga hatuna ile regulation, na hatuna vile tunaweza kaa kwa zile meza tujaribu kusema mimi nimeleta gari yangu, wewe umeleta app, wacha tusikizane. So yangu ni moja tu. Sisi tunaomba hiyo regulations, na tunaomba body ambayo inaweza kuwa kama the Energy Regulatory Commission, ile ina set prices, kwa sababu hata hiyo ilikuja kwa sababu there was no compliance. Na tungetaka kuwa compliant hata sisi wenyewe, ili the relationship can be defined between the app companies and the vehicle owners, who are called the driver partners. Thank you.
Mukabana, do you think you can respond to that? Do you think that regulation on pricing would be good for everyone?
I've been involved in the mediation between the taxis for some time under Kenya Private Sector Alliance. When they started fighting, we did go to the Competition Authority, and we came out with regulations and recommendations of what needs to do to regulate the business. This information was taken to National Transport and Safety Authority, and up to now, nothing has come out. I think I know where you are coming from. This relationship between the app and the regular taxis needs to be looked at. I have read a lot of what is happening in other countries. I know the employment relations that exist within the app taxi industry. It's an area that we need to. Another thing that I wanted to mention was in regard to my colleague who is asking about pictures. Those are some of the questions we are asking when you saw us recalling vehicles. For example, technology has moved on. Should you still use pictures? Can the driving license, the new driving license, has got a picture and has got a chip. Why not bring that instead of asking people to bring pictures? There are some things that we want dealt with, and that is what the Ministry of Interior did agree, that indeed we have got a raft of certain issues that we need to put together. Is it a continuous yellow line or is it a broken line? A lot of things that we need to bring. In our view, the Traffic Act is obsolete. It cannot cope with the current technology and things the way they have moved. They still say a bus must be of this length. The world has moved to another length. The engine usage, the fuel usage has changed. We are now having electric cars. Those are the problems that we are talking about.
Hisi kuwa wao wanafuata sheria, kidogo wanahisi wengine ni visababu tu.
Good evening. My name is Paul Muigai. I'm a chairman of Hanover Sacco. Sorry yangu inakuja kwa Charles. Sisi kwa matatu tunakopa ekre kitu. Unapata gari kuna governor, kuna mishipi, but your guys bado wanatuharasi kwa matatu. Hapo tutafanyia namna gani?
Kataa kulipa hongo. Na ukikataa na mwenzako akatae na mwingine akatae, basi hawa polisi wabaya hawatakuwa na nafasi. Lakini ikiwa wewe unataka kupeana ndipo upate nafasi ya kuweka excess passengers, basi mtaumia. Ni muhimu nyinyi nyote mkatae, na tuko na institutions zile wana regulate mambo za police. Tuko na Internal Affairs Unit katika polisi, na tuko na EACC, na tuko na CID, na wengine wenu wameenda huko na polisi wamekamatwa. So tuseme kwamba tukubaliane kwamba hatutapeana hongo kwa mtu yoyote, na pia tuhakikishe kwamba tuko compliant, ndipo wananchi pia wasiumie. Kwa sababu leo tukiwa na comfort katika matatu, ikiwa kama unabeba watu 3 kwa kiti, usibebe watu 4, kwa sababu ukibeba watu 3 kutakuwa na comfort. Kapombe atataka kuingia kwa matatu ndio save ile pesa yake ya petroli na pesa ya parking, atumie gari yako, na pia tutareduce mambo ya jam katika our roads. So mpigane, mpeane comfort, muwe wangwana, msisumbue wenye wanasafiri, na msipeane hongo kwa polisi. Wacha akupige kama anataka kukupiga. Tuone atakupiga siku ngapi.
Haya, uno ukizungumzia mambo ya kupigwa, watu wa bodaboda wameweza kupigwa mara kadhaa. Pasiliano.
My name is Pasiliano Lunga. I'm a boda rider within Nairobi CBD. My question goes direct to you, Mr. Charles Owino. Are you aware that your officers who are deployed in the CBD to crack down on boda riders are assaulting motorcycle riders and even going to an extent of throwing their clubs into the rims of a moving motorcycle? And an example is myself here. I'm nursing a wound and a fracture inflicted on me by an armed administration police officer who was attempting to arrest me. Thank you.
Owino.
Kitu ya kwanza nitasema pole, na kitu ingine ni kwamba ukiwa unajua huyo askari amekupiga, kwa sababu nadhani hutembei peke yako, pengine uko na wenzako, ni muhimu upeane report katika Independent Policing Oversight Authority ama katika Internal Affairs Unit, na utapata haki yako, kwa sababu tuko na hata askari wameua watu na wamekuwa investigated, wamepelekwa kotini na wamefungwa. So ni mzuri ujue haki yako. Kitu ingine ni kwamba tungeomba watu wa bodaboda pia mjaribu kueleza wenzenu mpate training, kwa sababu mara mingi unakuta mnatoka kwa feeder road na kuingia kwa main road, na most of it ni kwamba hamjapata training ya kutosha. Kitu ingine, mkiwa mumeelezwa msikuje town, especially na county government, kwa nini mnalazimisha kuja town? Kwa sababu bado mnaweza peana services yenu kwa zile areas imekubaliwa. Kwa sababu mnajua saa hizi tuko na shida kubwa sana na bodaboda. Ukienda katika hospitali mingi kama kule kijijini, utakuta kwamba tuko na ward specifically ya bodaboda. So hata kama unatafuta pesa, hakikisha kwamba umeenda training, uko na driving license, uko na helmet, kwa sababu ni kweli kwamba ukienda kule kwa kijiji unakuta kwamba mtu ananunua pikipiki, anapeana kijana, ana learn kudride kama 30 minutes 15 minutes, ameenda kubeba mtu. Tunapoteza watu wengi, tuko na watu wengi wanaumia, na tuko na watu wengi pia wanafariki juu ya non compliance ya bodaboda. So itakuwa vyema watu wa bodaboda mtusaidie, pia tusaidie nchi yetu, muwe compliant, mpate ile masomo ya kutosha ya riding, na pia mfuate sheria, kuwa na helmet, hakikisha kwamba pigeon passenger yako pia ako na helmet. Sasa hivi tu jioni nimepita pahali jamaa amebeba mama na watoto 4 katika State House Road jioni sasa hivi tu, na unajua saa zingine unakuta ni mzee na watoto yake na bibi, akigongwa basi tumepoteza hiyo familia yote. So ni muhimu pia msiwe na impunity, kwa sababu yenu inakuwa hata mbaya zaidi. Hata hapa town mnagonga hata magari. So tujaribu kusaidiana, lakini katika hiyo kesi yako ni muhimu upeane report kwa wale authorities kama IPOA, Internal Affairs Unit, tutasikizwa ama ukuje kwangu.
Naam, Wino, ukizungumzia swala la watu kufuata sheria, kuna wale ambao wanahisi kuna vifaa vya kiteknolojia ambavyo vinafaa kusaidia. Ambrose Maseme ana swali kuhusiana na hizo kamera. Ambrose.
Haya, kwa majina naitwa Masema Ambrose, na swali langu laenda kwa Charles Owino. Nauliza, for example, our government imejaribu imenunua CCTV. In one way or the other, unapata watu wanasema watu wa bodaboda ni wezi. So ndio nilikuwa nataka kuuliza, does it mean the government imefeli kazi yake inafaa kufanya? Sasa zingine kama mtu ameiba, kama ni Harambee Avenue, akiwa ameiba, si hapo kuna CCTV? Ndio nilikuwa nataka niulize tu vizuri, kama hizo CCTV kuna wenye wako kwa ofisi, does it mean wafanyi kazi yao? Inafika kiwango mnasema watu wote wa bodaboda ni wezi.
Charles.
It depends umeiba kwa njia gani. Unajua kuna ile uwizi yenye pengine mtu hataweza kuona katika CCTV. Na pia CCTV haishiki pande zote. Hata leo ukiweka CCTV hapa utakuta choo hakuna CCTV. So ukienda kufanya mambo zako huko. So hatusemi kwamba ikisemekana umeiba basi lazima CCTV itoe ile action yako. Saa zingine itatoa, saa zingine haitatoa. Lakini mara mingi unakuta watu wana believe kwa ule mwenye ameibiwa.
Ni respond kidogo kwa mambo ya kama this gentleman ule aliumia. Just to talk about the continuous harassment na watu kushikwa. Then Bwana Charles, there are more than 3 or 4 trucks ni lori zinazunguka hapa town na purposely zinabeba motorcycle. Those lorries ni ofisi ya corruption. Inabeba pikipiki zaidi ya 3, 4, 10, and every motorcycle is being released on a cash bail ndani ya hiyo lori ya 5,000 to 10,000. It is something we've reported all over, and you realize these people are not even taken to court, but court inaishia tu pale. And it is happening in a broad daylight, yet there is nothing that is actually being done to even arrest. Some of the officers are even supervisors. The police officers are supervisors in coordination and collaboration with the county askaris, wale kanjo. And it is something that it is completely unacceptable. Tunakubaliana na wewe when you say about CBD, because the regulation about the operation of motorcycle, the NTSA Act, inasema vizuri sana that it is the responsibility of the relevant county government together with the National Transport and Safety Authority to set out areas of operation. Now, some of the people have been operating within this CBD for the last 10 years since the motorcycle started. And now they've been totally told not to operate in CBD, but in total violation of the Regulation Act, NTSA Act, that is saying they should be given a specific area for them to operate from. They are completely blind on that. They don't want to read that, and they're telling you out of CBD. Yet the Matato operators, Kina Kimutai, are allowed to bring passengers, all of them, to the CBD, and the border operators told, wewe kaa huko Kariakoo kwa roundabout, wait there until the customer wale walidropiwa CBD, they come back for you here, alafu wapeleke Milimani, for instance. It is not making sense. And that is something we are saying that is totally denying our members even business. And we should actually apply acceptable practices for our members also to maybe adhere to.
Linus, I think we are just being too gentle. Practically in an organized country, we don't need to have motorbikes in town undertaking this kind of business because of the possibility of accidents and the inconveniences. Because today, if you allow motor vehicles in town, you may not get space because you cannot even regulate them. And they could still have business in the outskirts of town. I think we are just being too gentle. But all the same, it is said it is the responsibility of county government. I wish they were here to respond to that. We don't want to appear to be stopping people. But in a very civilized manner, I think it's not fair. We need to regulate further our transport system. That is why you found at one time people were trying to say, let us outface the 14-seater Matato so that we can have bigger buses to control issues of traffic on the road. So I think it is important that we also get a bit more reasonable. And that's why I talked about morality as a country. We need to decide what is fair for us as a country. Not just talking because we must do business, we must make money, even if we are creating inconveniences. And this is a big city that should have certain standards on how we operate.
Na swali linalofuata sasa ni kuhusiana na jambo ambalo limejitokeza kuhusiana na Kamagera. Kimutai hapo amesema kuwa ni waajiriwa wa waajiriwa wao. Kevin.
Kwa majina mimi naitwa Kelvin Murioki. Mimi ningependa kujua hatuwezi toshea sisi wote kwa hizi mabasi. Na pia juu kazi ya matatu ni ya kuzunguka, lazima pia wale wako wakule lunch na wafanye mambo mengine. Sana shindo tukikatiza tutakuwa tunaumiza wale kwa kazini, na pia tukikatiza mambo ya Kamagera sisi tutaenda wapi? Then the next question, ningependa pia kujua kuna saa kama along I'm just using an example along tumie jina kama Wayakiwe, a police officer comes anakusimamisha. Then anauliza wapi conductor, unatokea umekalia kiti yako, unaulizwa wapi vitu zako za kazi, unapeana and you in full uniform. Lakini hiyo si sababu yako ya kukosa wewe kupelekwa kotini, atakupeleka utaandikiwa touting na amekushika along Wayakiwe. So sijui hapo tunaweza saidika namna gani?
Swali lingine kabla hilo lijibiwe kutoka kwa wahudumu wa taxi kuhusiana na usalama.
My name's Emma Wanjiko. I represent digital taxi drivers. Being a lady, I feel the government is failing in this case when it comes to security. On this challenging field, we feel like, because this is something that we've been hearing all along about the insecurity. So I feel there is much that you need to do to ensure that there is safety on our roads, and also to the work that we are doing. So on this case, I still feel like the government is not doing enough.
Na kwa sababu ya Mdalinas, kuna swali lingine ambalo sitaweza kumpatia nafasi aliulize, lakini anauliza kama wao wanapaswa kufuata sheria fulani. Mbona kuna polisi ambao hawajavaa zile sare wanazostahili ambao pia wanawashika? Kwako Charles.
I don't think there are policemen who go arresting tots who are not in uniform. They are there. It's okay. Unless the officer commanding of that area decides to have his own special operation. Because when they see policemen, they take off. So maybe the best way to catch them is to send people that they cannot see from far. I don't know, but I want to believe that could be the reason why they are doing that. But people who are not drivers, if you're not a driver,
Kamagera.
Yes, and you are not a conductor, and you don't have the required certificates, please just keep off, because I think it is going to be very difficult for you, because we are going to arrest you and we are going to charge you. I don't think there is any compromise on that. Kazi ya kufanya ni mingi, hata Linus atakueleza hapa. Hata kwake pengine atafuta wafanye kazi na kupata ni ngumu. Majority of you want easy things. You don't want to work hard. You want to sit, kula gum, na kupata pesa rahisi. Hiyo haiwezekani. Let those who have been employed as conductors and drivers do the job, and you do something else. Si lazima uwe conductor. Siwezi sema leo ati kila mtu awe polisi kama mimi. Wengine watakuwa polisi, wengine watakuwa matatu owners. Kwa matatu owners pia hawana matatu, lakini ni matatu owners. There are many. So what I would say is let us comply. And this is important for all of us. If you know very well that you don't have papers and you're not a driver of any vehicle, and you're not a conductor, please just keep off, because we are going to arrest you. And it's going to be very painful. Because police hawatachukua hongo. Kama umezoea kuwapatia hongo, pole hawatachukua. So utakamatwa.
Maybe what I would advise the young people who actually have licenses, what you need to do is to approach a SACCO and be employed as relievers, but you must comply. You got to go and have good certificate of good conduct, have your license, go to NTSA or come to a company, let them sign for you so that you can relieve him for their vehicles when they are going out for lunch. As opposed to, you know, being amorphous. You're here today, you're on another vehicle, and the moment you involved in an accident, mnaacha gari mnatoroka. Na ingine saa zingine mkiona polisi mnaacha gari mnatoroka. Mnamfanya mwenye gari hiyo gari yake ivurutwe. So I think it would only be fair if you complied. Muwe na stakabadhi, muapproach SACCO ama makampuni katika sehemu ile wanafanyia kazi, muwe relievers at that end ambaye mtakuwa recognized. Lakini hivi bure kama Kamagera hiyo jina hata pengine si nzuri sana, I sound mzuri.
Linus.
And Simon,
no, I think vacancies have doubled.
Just a quick follow-up
yes.
On that answer, Mr. Kimutai. You've advised them to comply. In the event that they don't, what option do you have as a Matato owner? Do you have some powers to actually rein in? Because we've watched that clip and you see that clearly those people are just operating, and you call them employees of your employees.
Now, that was in brackets. So these people, it is not me. We don't have arresting powers. It lies within the docket of Charles, and he has put it very clearly that if you are not compliant and you've not been employed by certain company or companies, then the best thing is to get away from there. Otherwise, it's going to arrest them.
The vacancies on driving has doubled because we are allowing them to have a driver for only 8 hours. So I think each and every vehicle, PSV vehicle, will employ an extra driver. So kuna kazi. Lazima wataweka drivers wawili ama watatu. So kuna kazi, na Kimutai asikatai, andika watu kazi kuanzia kesho.
Yes, right, and talking of Kwanzia Kesho, gentlemen, we are running out of time, and I want to bring you in, each one of you, for your closing remarks, and this will be about the way forward starting from tomorrow, and most of you are talking about tomorrow. And the big question today is about compliance to what is basically traffic rules that have been in our books for the last 15 years. Mukabana.
Thank you very much. My closing remarks is that yes, we want our drivers and conductors and all vehicles to be compliant when they are on the road, and we are going to ensure that we focus on that. But we also like to ask the enforcement officers to look at better ways of dealing with it. We are also very sensitive to our passengers. If we remove passengers and maybe if the passengers are disadvantaged in one way and we leave them at a particular place, we can use the notice to attend court. We can call the vehicle owners. We have the telephone numbers, such that we create a harmonious relationship. Going forward, yes, the government has agreed to have a bi-monthly meeting with us, so we are going to put all those issues to them, and we believe our SACCO owners outside there and the drivers should then start having some relief to find it that we are going to take the issues they have.
Do we take this to mean that you, as the Federation of Public Transport Operators, are going to comply unconditionally from tomorrow?
Yeah, we are going to comply unconditionally. I think we have been complying unconditionally. There are only certain issues that we feel that maybe they have lapsed. 14 years is a long time ago. And if you use the same rules you were using 14 years, and I don't have time to go through, I would have gone through a raft of them to tell you that some of them are a bit obsolete.
Kenneth?
Us on the Boda Boda side, I think we are actually ready to comply. We've been complying. Our Boda riders are putting insurance on their motorcycle, complying by putting on a helmet and giving papillion passengers together with the reflector jackets, and obeying the traffic rules and obeying even the traffic lights. The only thing that we pose as a challenge to the police, especially the traffic department, when we stop at the roundabouts waiting for the traffic lights, the green lights to tell us to go, it's not a sign for them to come and arrest our members, because that's the reason why at times our members will run away. And we accept the challenges that has been posed to us. We are ready to change. But at the same time, let me speak about the task force that the minister has talked about, forming a task force which was supposed to be announced today, that we are ready to sit down and agree on acceptable terms before the deadline that he had set on January the 31st. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kenneth. Simon?
Thank you. I think what I want to put in is that it's high time that we all change in the way we are doing things. We've had a mouse and cats play, which should come to an end. We want all of us in public transport, including policemen, to be patriots in this country, to stand up and say that we need to fix where things have gone wrong. So we want to be a team. We want to score in the same goal. We don't want to play volleyball anymore, where you hit the ball from this end, it is responded from the other side. So we want to say, I think it's high time that we even change the way we communicate and enforcing the law, because all this can happen if we want it to happen. We can reduce crashes on our roads because 80% of crashes are avoidable. So, but it all depends on how we are going to behave. We need to have a relationship with the law enforcement office or arm in a way that we will be able to succeed in whatever we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles?
Yeah, it's important to note that the police, we are not at war with anyone. We simply have a responsibility to enforce. And you can see all of them are concerned that instead of enforcing, we are taking bribes. First of all, I'll ask them, please don't give bribes. We also have a duty to ensure that our people don't take bribes. And we also have a duty to ensure that with other institutions that we have, we follow up to ensure that the law is enforced. We request all Kenyans to cooperate in this particular exercise of ensuring that we comply to the traffic rules. We cooperate so that we can get safety, we can be comfortable in the public service vehicles that we are using, to attract more people to use public service vehicles, to be able to control our jams so that we limit the number of personal vehicles coming to town. And we work as a team, we work as brothers and sisters. The nation requires all of us, whether you are a conductor, whether you are a driver, whether you are a Matato owner, a policeman, or any other citizen, we are all important. So it is important that we work as a team, no more blame games. Everyone should stick to his line. If you are a Matato owner, ensure that your vehicle is compliant. If you are a driver, ensure that you drive within the regulations and you have all the items required for you to be compliant, or if you are a conductor. I think this will push our country further. We become more developed. It's painful when you go to another country and you don't see even a single policeman on the road. For example, in Accra in Ghana, everybody is using traffic lights. We will push the county governments to ensure that every junction, every place has traffic lights. And we ensure that these regulations are followed and we move on as a country, not as individuals. The time for blame games is gone, and let's move forward as one team.
Thank you, Charles, and
yes.
indeed, thank you, gentlemen, for your closing remarks. Our last statement tonight comes from a very important section of our show today, which is our audience, and over to Mashirima.
Naam, kauli ya mwisho basi itatoka kwa kile ambacho Owino amesema kuwa kila mmoja ni muhimu, lakini pia kuna wasanii ambao kidogo leo sauti yao karibu isahaulike. Moha.
Naitwa Moha Graphics. Kazi yangu ni kuchora hizi matatu. So shida yangu ilikuwa nataka kujua juu hatujui. Kwa sababu 15 years ago tuliambiwa gari zikuwe kala moja. Sasa tulikosa kazi. By now wanasema rules zimerudi tena. Sasa tunataka kujua kama hiyo mambo ya kuchora magari imeondolewa au bado si tuko kazi, kwa sababu hiyo ndio maisha yetu, ndio tunalisha familia yetu na kazi hiyo.
Linus.
Thank you. The final statement has come in form of a question, so I'll give Charles half a minute to comment on the graffiti section. Is this affected by the regulations?
What I know so far is that it's matatus and taxi cabs that are required to have a yellow band which is not continuous, as per the amendments which were undertaken in 2005. The first regulation was in 2003. Then there was an amendment. So we have broken yellow line. That is the provision. And we talk about a Matatu. A Matatu is a PSV vehicle that carries not more than 25, excluding the driver. For the other vehicles, so far, I don't think there is a regulation concerning what were graphics, because that's why I've seen a number of vehicles still having graphics, unless another regulation is brought. But the only one that I saw is a Matatu, which is, and a taxi cab, which is simply a PSV vehicle not carrying more than 25 people, excluding the driver.
So on your word, this gentleman should go back to work?
Yes, as long as he does not, for example, you see the rear windscreen. If you draw it, it means that the driver will not be able to use his rear mirror. So you don't do it in a manner that you interfere with the normal operations of the vehicle. Otherwise, if you go against the normal safety regulations, then definitely you will get a problem.
Naam, asante sana Charles Owino akiwa anasema kuwa sheria bora zifuatwe, basi hakutakuwa na tatizo. Mimi ni Mashirima Kapombe, nampatia nafasi Lina sasa aweze kutufungia kipindi.
Asante, asante Mashirima. We have to end it here, panelists, audience and viewers, and end it with an acknowledgement of the broad support of the reintroduction of the Michuki rules, despite the inconvenience we've heard from the commuters today saying they are happy to walk to work if that is what it takes to restore the country's public transport sector back to sanity. We've heard from the authorities sounding resolute and pledging that this was not a day's show, but a sustained process to enforce the law. We have also heard among the stakeholders in the Matato sector the softening of their stance, promising to obey traffic rules and to return vehicles back on the road tomorrow. And now hear from us, thanking you for watching the Citizen Town Hall on behalf of Mashirima, our directors and producers, and the entire Citizen crew. I'm Linus Kaikai. Have a very good night.